Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Without a doubt, one of my favorite shows of all time and one of the greatest Marvel cartoons ever made. And it paid such loving tribute to the works of old and even some modern works at the time. But how faithful are those stories from an adaptation standpoint? Today, I wanted to start up a little series, looking through most of Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes episodes and comparing them to the comic books that inspired them. And where else to start but episodes 6 and 7? Okay, I'm skipping episodes 1 through 5 because there are no real direct comic adaptations of these stories here. They were just more general stories to introduce the Avengers. But if you want some comic book tidbits, the episodes Iron Man is Born and Man in the Anthill are references to the names of the first appearances of Iron Man and Ant-Man respectively. But what we are going to look at are the episodes Breakout Part 1 and 2, which are adapted from Avengers number 1 from 1963, the 5-issue miniseries Avengers The Origin from 2010, and the New Avengers issues 1 through 3, which was also titled Breakout. So, let's get into this episode and the comics that made them. Breakout pays off the previous 5 episodes that spent all this time building up all these supervillain prisons that housed unique antagonists. Like the Vault was for technology villains, the Cube was for gamma villains, the Big House was, I think, villains that could be redeemed, and then the Raft was the worst of the worst. In the Breakout story from New Avengers, the Raft is the only prison really up and running during this time, so it's the one that's broken out of, and the only one where supervillains come out. However, they did keep it from the comic that the Raft was the one with the most dangerous villains, so they get brownie points for that. Though, funny enough, in spite of being where the Avengers fought in the New Avengers Breakout story, the Raft is actually the only one where none of the Avengers are seen fighting. There also isn't like a coming together moment like in New Avengers, where all of them are in the same prison fighting against the hordes of prisoners. Each one is left on their own to fight against multiple prisoners. I think this was done to show why they need a group of these people, because man, on their own, they're getting their butts kicked by like 10 or 12 of these guys at once. In New Avengers, the big breakout is caused by Electro. Initially, it is assumed to be the final big boss of the episode, Graviton. However, it is later proven to be Loki in episode 26. This is actually to tie it more to the original comic, where Loki was the corporate behind a much grander scheme that the Avengers didn't notice until the end. In the original run, Loki's initial plan was to mess with the Hulk so that he would want to fight Thor. He didn't really do a good job at that. He was banished to the realm of silence during Thor's run at that time, which, funny enough, he was shown being trapped there in the episode Thor the Mighty, one of the micro episodes I mentioned earlier, so it's possible that he caused the breakout there too, as a nice little nod to the earlier comic. But going back to the main episode, Graviton is unleashed onto the world and plans to destroy New York City and become the world's ruler. We get to see a flashback of him being a S.H.I.E.L.D. scientist working on molecules that end up giving him gravity powers, which, outside of him working as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, is pretty spot on to his original origin, so they get points for that too. Something weird to note, though, is that the original comic doesn't really have a moment where the whole team comes together to fight against the big bad, like any superhero team-up story does. Heck, New Avengers only kinda has it. They all kind of just fight a group together, and then Cap's like, we should form a team. I'm just saying, I feel like the team-up feels more earned here, but that's just me. After beating Graviton, S.H.I.E.L.D. does try arresting the Hulk, but the Avengers, well, the other ones, do try to protect the Hulk's name, being like, he did good here, which is funny, because they would never do that in the original comic, because all of them absolutely hate the Hulk. In the extended version of Avengers The Origin, it stated that none of them really wanted him on the team, but they just humored him because they thought they could keep him in check because they don't trust him because, he's a big monster, like the jerks they are. Another change would be that Tony is the one who wants to assemble the team, not Hank Pym like the initial comic, But to be fair, Hank is way more of a pacifist in this show, and he would never want to assemble a superhero team here in any other circumstance. What is accurate, though, is Wasp does name the Avengers team.
We can be Avengers.
And I think Tony's speech about it may have been inspired from Avengers The Origins, way he talks about the Avengers at the end of that comic. And with that, the Avengers are assembled in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and I guess to an extent the other comics, kind of. But yeah, you can tell Earth's Mightiest Heroes, while taking a lot of inspiration, made a lot of creative changes and kept things that did work, but also took out a lot of things that really weren't necessary. Like, for example, I skipped the whole part where the Hulk played as a circus clown in the original issue and the Origins because, well, what was I supposed to say? They didn't adapt that part. If anything, they made the Hulk a bigger key player, probably because they knew he was going to be, well, more involved in this show compared to the original comic, where, spoiler alert, he leaves after issue 2. And in general, I think it just tells a better story about the team coming together. Stan and Kirby's work definitely has its charm, and some of it holds up better than others. But when it comes to the Avengers, I never felt like it did a good job showing why these characters became a group. I think the Origins did a little bit of a better job of that, but even then, there's still the massive Hulk disrespect. And the new Avengers, definitely a big improvement on the team coming together. I think really just needed one big final threat before the group came together to solidify, yes, this needs to be the team. And Earth's Mightiest Heroes does everything I think it needed to truly set up why the Avengers matter and why they're needed in a universe like this. So kudos to you, Breakout Part 1 and 2. You did the best job adapting this Avengers origin, better than the source material, I would personally say. But don't take that as a jab that inspired these 2 episodes here. Even though I think this is the definitive Avengers formation, I mean, the comics are still great, and hey, this show probably paved way for the movies, and those were awesome too. So, yeah, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes rock. And this was significantly comparing the comics to their TV show counterpart here, relatively speaking at least. And for anyone who's only seen EMH or has only read the comics, I hope the information here was suitable to you. And I would recommend going through both of these at least once. So, thanks again, and take care, everyone.